everybody, I'm Etienne Bruneau. I'm working in a beekeeping center in Belgium that we call CARI, and I'm also the president of the Scientific Commission of Apimondia, in charge of the technology and quality of the bee products and beekeeping. I will talk today of the honey market in turmoil. You know that the situation today is horrible for a lot of beekeepers in the world, and I will try to see and to explain what's the matter more deeply here. First of all, we have to have a look on the global market, and there you can see in dark yellow the country who produce a lot, and there you see immediately that China is a very big country. You have also Argentina, Mexico, Europe, sure, Ukraine, and also country that we don't know so well, it's Turkey and Iran. So this is the global situation. And in this global situation, we will go a little more in details on some aspects. There you have the world production. It's not so new. It's the data are coming from the FAO. And there you can see that it's China who come first and very far in front of all the other countries. Second place is the EU. And after we have a lot of different countries like Turkey and Argentina and all this kind of country. But most of the honey is produced by China. This is very clear. There you can see the data. But when you analyze the evolution, there it's much more important because there you can see some elements who are completely relevant. You see the evolution is normally nearly the same in all the different regions in the world. And on the graph, you can see one line who is going very up. And when you see who is there, it's the East Asia. East Asia, what does it mean? It's all the country from China, Vietnam, and all this country. And there you can see it's completely surprising to see the evolution completely different from the other country. It's a fair question there. We have to ask, why is it like this? There is another graph, a little more complex. I don't know if you can see the higher peak, it's Germany. There you can see all the European country, and just up to the zero, you have blue line. This is import coming from the European country, and the red line up, it's the honey was imported from outside Europe country. And in the down part of the graph, in more yellow, there it's the honey was sold in Europe, and after the little part, it's sold outside of Europe. First of all, we can see that the European Union didn't sell outside of Europe, or very few. But what's important is to see who is the buyer, who buy honey coming from outside of Europe. And there, sure, Germany is coming at the first place, and UK is in the second place. This is surprising. After you come Belgium and Spain and all this kind of country, Poland now is developing its imports. But what's the most important is this part of imported honey coming from outside of Europe. There, it's internal part of Europe. You have Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, and Spain. They are the big producer at European level. They produce a very big amount of honey that they sell in Europe. So these countries are really important to know exactly the situation for the beekeeper. Because if they can't sell, the prices are decreasing. So if there is no buyer, if Germany didn't buy honey coming from this country, it's a very big problem, because there you can see the price, all the prices at the European level are decreasing. And you can see the price are very down. Now, it's not so evident there, but the price are around €3, a little more of €3. But this is the average, but at some moment it's increased after it decreased and all these kind of things. And this line it's the quantity, the blue line is the quantity of the honey were sold. And there you see the variability, it's very fluent. It's not so evident. And from one year to another year, it's not so evident. This is another graph who can looks for you very complex. You have once more all the country, and in the you have the line. It's the cost of production, and in the other graph you have the income coming from honey. And when you see in the red square there, you can find all the country who sell honey at a lower price than the cost of production. And this is a big problem for all the professional beekeepers who are in this part. They sell honey because they have to survive, but they can't continue to produce honey in this condition. It's completely impossible. And this situation is horrible situation, is increasing from year to year. This is for when you sell directly to your neighbor in the lower part. It's not so important. At the professional side, they are in the upper part of the graph. So on the AUR market, if we can summarize the situation, we observe a decrease of production, and it's also linked to the climate change. There we have very, very big problem. This year, nearly all the south part and the east part can't continue to produce honey. It's a very, very big problem this year. And in front of this, surprising thing, the price are decreasing on the market, on the international market and on the European market, the prices are decreasing. So the production decreased, the prices are decreasing too. And the cost of production are increasing because you have to feed your hives, and there the cost increase, the production decrease, and the price decrease. And so, and in front of this, you have also that a lot of beekeepers have more and more stocks of honey in some part of Europe. What does it mean? It's a decrease of rentability, and the viability of the beekeeping, the professional beekeeping. It's a real question today. And so we observe a shift from wholesale to retail markets, and it's arrived to a direct competition with the hobbyists, because they are selling the honey at the same place there now. It was not the case in the past. So this will say that we have economic beekeeping. The economic beekeeping is under threat. What does it mean? Actually, we have at the European level around 16.5 million colonies. But in the future, if all the professional beekeeping disappear, we will arrive to 10 million colonies. And there we will have a very big problem of pollination. Now we will check the imports on it, because one of the most important problems is coming directly from this part, this kind of honey. There you will see from the origin, the upper line, it's China. The line who arrived nearly at the same level, it's Ukraine. After the other line, you have Argentina and Mexico. And there, what you observe, it's the first, sure, it's China. This is clear. They arrived to resell in Europe more than 70,000 tons. It's a lot. And they decrease a lot in 2015 because it's a lot of problem. It's control, increase the arrival of some new techniques to see what's the matter there. And all the market was really disappointed this moment because the Commission make a very big plan of control. And at this moment, it's Ukraine who go up and who join now China. Argentina and Mexico are much more stable. It's not really stable, but we can analyze. We don't have time to analyze this in more details. What's really important there is the curve with UK. And UK is not like Europe. You see, UK, China, they continue to increase the quantity imported from China. All the other countries decrease, but UK continue. And something is really surprising. UK don't want to use some new techniques to detect adulteration. Just a question there. Why? And there you will see the evolution of the imports. There it's you have China. I will see directly the other graph because it's too little. I have difficulties to read. This is the most important. It's the evolution of the price of imports from China. And there you see from the country, each country has a different price. And why? Because at the entrance of the honey, some company impose some tests. And you have to know that more, if the honey coming from China has to fulfill most of the tests, the price is higher. And if it didn't have to fulfill the test, it comes a very low price. And here we can find the price of UK. And we arrive to €1 per kilo. And the other country like Belgium, where they made a lot of tests, then they arrive at 1.6. It's a very big difference. Even if the prices are very low, it's a very big difference. What does it mean? UK continue to import Chinese, and they buy Chinese at a very, very low price at the European level. Just a question. €1, is it always honey? And there, for this, you will have to focus on China. Because, first of all, we have to ask, what's honey? Sure, all the beekeepers would know what's honey, but the legal definition of honey is really important. There you have the Codex definition. It's the honey directive. Perhaps in UK you have your specific regulation, but who are completely based on the honey directive. And so what can we read there? It's that the honey must come exclusively from bees and must be mature. So, and the humidity must be under 20%. It's completely forbidden to extract particular constituents like sugar, like enzyme or something like this, and without significant degradation of enzyme. So the high warming or destroy enzyme is completely forbidden too. Even pasteurization can be considered as forbidden, but it's used nearly everywhere in the world. And non-fermented honey must be sold. But this will say that for a beekeeper, the humidity must be under 18%. Which kind of adulteration can we find? First, non-mature honey harvest, who didn't fulfill the codex. And another kind of things, when you have this kind of honey, usually you have to pass it through filter reasons to avoid to have some elements that you don't want to find in your honey. Second type of adulteration, it's the addition of sugar syrup. Syrup feeding during honey flow. All the beekeepers know that you don't have to feed your bees during honey flow. It's normal, but this is completely forbidden. The third thing is the incorrect labeling, botanical and or geographical origin. Everybody knows this. I will not insist on this point. I will start with the non-mature honey harvest. And there, it's this kind of honey is produced mostly in the east part of Asia. So you remember the graph where the east part of Asia increased the production. And the example is there, China. And there we were lucky in Louvain-la-Neuve, in Belgium, we received an expert who was working in a control unit in China. And he made us a presentation of the Chinese market to explain us what's the matter there, exactly. And there you will see some slides coming from his presentation. First of all, China, the beekeeper in China are not like in UK or like in other country in Europe. It's completely different. There are a lot of little beekeepers who are working for industries or cooperatives, very, very big cooperative. Like in China, everything is very big. So they start to produce in the south part of China, and after from one harvest to another, they jump there, and after they can go on the north part there in July and August to bring tilia there. So they start with rape and they arrive to tilia at the end of the season. So they run a lot during the season. They start with their truck, their tent, and they do this job with just their eyes. They are living there 6 to 8 months per year. They are moving. And the distance you can see 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers per year to produce 5 to 6 harvests and different type of honey. They are producing a lot of monofloral honey. So generally, a profile of beekeeper, it's a man with his wife. They have to manage 100 to 200 bee colonies. It's not so much. But we have to know, and this is really important, they don't have the material to produce mature honey, because mature honey, it's a lot of super that you have to put on your hives. They don't have the place to do it. They can't just extract honey. They have an extractor there, and it's all. They put this in drums, and some trucks are coming from the cooperative or from the industry to bring the drums and to get it. But when you see, it's impossible for them to wait to have a mature honey, because there you need to take off the cap of the cells. They don't have the material to do it. So as soon as a frame is full of nectar, they bring it and they extract it. And this they put in the drums, and this go in the industry. And so this is the Chinese trait. The beekeeper in the first, and after they arrive to the cooperative, this kind of cooperative, and after they go through an intermediary, and there these persons are selling to outside. And in the internal market, you have packager who are selling in the market, in the Chinese market. When the control are made, for the beekeeper and for the first step in the cooperative, no problem, everything is perfect. Perfect, non-mature honey, but perfect, non-mature honey. After, there you can find a lot of big problem. So it's not more honey. This is the process. So in the industry or the cooperative, they warm the honey because it's some crystals inside. After you have a place where you can extract the moisture of honey, and they start with 22 to 27 and even higher than 27% of humidity, and they can extract to arrive to under 20, sure, and normally under 18% of humidity. So you see, the extraction is very important, and during this extraction, you have a problem with you lost most of the aromas, and all the sensible elements can be destroyed in this kind of things. After you make blends of honey, and there you start to put this in drums or in jar. This is more classic. So what are the industry? Melting crystallization, filter, vacuum concentrated dissolidation. You arrive with vacuum to extract the humidity at 50 to 60 degrees, and after the package. And what's about the filter on the resins? These persons tell us that it's only 2 to 5% of the honey who go through filter resins, because it's just to extract the antibiotic. When you don't use antibiotics, you don't go through the filter. Just this filter can extract completely the presence of antibiotics. You know that at the European level, antibiotics are completely forbidden, and to sell to Europe, if the Chinese found antibiotics, they just use this filter to clean the honey. Perhaps one thing's really important to know, it's in the domestic market in China. There you can see that the price on the market are from 10 to 30 euro per kilo for honey, more expensive than in Europe. And if you have to know that for the beekeeper, they buy the lower price, it's 1 euro. For rape or for very low quality of honey, it's 1 US dollar per kilo. And there, after, with the cooperative, the industry, the transport, and all these things, when it arrives to the market, the lower price is 3 US dollar. And so it's completely surprising. And after, you can see you have very, very big company. You can see the 13 to 26 million euro of, it's a very, very big company. Little company that they call local company. I think a lot of beekeeper packager in Europe are more local company at the Chinese level. And the market is 250,000 tons for China. And they import also, but for nearly nothing, as you can see. So in front of this problem of water present in the honey, what can we think? You have the Asian way to think. It's possible as soon as nectar to harvest. This is the Asian way to work. It's completely forbidden by the Codex and by the honey directive. But 90% of the honey is this characteristic in Asia. You have the German way. Water is as a constituent and cannot be extracted. It's completely a deposit. Completely forbidden to extract water from honey. So you have to harvest major honey and with, for the beekeeper, less than 18% of humidity. And for the other country, it's water can be extracted if honey is major. What's the difference between mature and non-mature honey? This is the question. And it's the expert, the Chinese expert, tell that he made a lot of tests and we can analyze moisture, sugar composition, amylase activity, glycerol, HMF. And he tell perhaps some glycerol, yes, but it's linked to the fermentation. This is completely forbidden at a European level, sure. HMF, yes, you have to warm it, but it's not enough to discriminate this honey from other treatment like pasteurization, this kind of things. And from techniques like NMR, we will see GCMS, LCMS, all this kind of techniques, they can't detect some non-fresh, non-mature honey in comparison with a little old mature honey. So when it's a very fresh, non-mature honey, you can detect it. If it's a very old, you see, you can see, but most of them you can't detect. This is a big problem. So non-mature honey, we have to find a global solution because the one third of the world production is coming from non-mature honey. And so what can we do for the future? This is a big question. How can we insist and push the Asian beekeeper to change their techniques? It's impossible in 1 day, in 1 year, in 2 years. Perhaps in 5, 10 years, it's possible to change, but not in a short time. So now what can we do? If we stop all the imports coming from East Asia, what will be the market? I don't know. It's just a question. And so you have the position of the Chinese who tell, but we can do exactly what we have done for the royal jelly, to put norms with 2 different levels of quality. One level where we can use non-mature honey, and the other level with mature honey. Is their suggestion. We discussed this at international ISO norms. Now we have a working package a working group was working on the honey and the new ISO norm for honey. The first meeting, we just arrived to tell that ISO has to comply at least with Codex rules. So it's a big problem for the Chinese. And the second meeting in Paris, it was a little surprising. We spent one day to just discuss of this point. And at the end of the day, we arrived to some agreements, not so clear, where all the form of the dehydration or extraction of moisture in the honey are completely forbidden. But at the European level, it's a very big problem for a big part of the beekeeper. And from this point, we don't have meeting because with COVID, and it was very difficult. And this commission will not work without this kind of work of system. So you see, it's not solved, this problem of major or non-major honey. The other problem, most important, is the addition of sugar syrup in the honey. And you see the title of the journal there, everybody knows this. 1/3 of the honey is adulterated. The honey is the most, as the third product, alimentary product, adulterated, and all these kind of things. Sure. And the question is always the same. How is it possible to sell honey at 1.2 euro when you pay at the beekeeper $1 and who must be arrive on the market at $3 in the Chinese market? He arrive in Europe at €1. Completely impossible. Nobody will lose €2 in the transport. It's completely impossible. And so the only solution is to put syrup. And the Chinese tell, oh, it's a big problem with syrup today because the prices are increasing a lot. And they are getting higher and higher. It's a little surprising. It's not really a problem for me. But now, one kilo of syrup costs $1 per kilo. This is a question. This is the evolution of the price in the Chinese market. And as you can see, the increase, and now it's more stable situation during this last year. This is the most important graph. When you analyze it was presented by the Chinese expert. It's not my graph. He analyzed the price of the exports in China and the real price of honey in China. And he tell, at European level, you buy 1,000 to 3,000 US dollar per ton, and in Japan, 2,200 to 4,000 US dollar per tons. And he tell in Europe, average 70% syrup, 30% honey. In Japan, 30% syrup, 70% of honey. So you can see in average, in Europe, we import 70% of syrup in the honey. It's a lot. And when you think to the price at the UK, is the price of the syrup. So is it honey? This is really a question there. And now it's the problem to detect adulteration. It's not new, adulteration. I'm working from 35 years in beekeeping, and every time I hear a beekeeper speaking of adulteration. And for years, beekeepers have reported problem with these kind of things. In the absence of evidence, very little has been done. Fraud evolved very quickly. We will see the evolution of fraud. It's surprising. The creation of anti-fraud unit at European level has helped to get things moving. This was the first step to change the situation. First, I will show you that the fraud evolved very quickly. In the first approach, the lab were searching for trace elements in syrup. What does it mean? Target elements that you can find in some syrup or something like this. Oh, in this syrup we can find this kind of enzyme who are not present in the honey. We will look at this enzyme. Or we'll look to this sugar who can't be present in honey. And you can find some specific markers for enzyme, sure, oligosaccharide, from beet sugar, rice sugar, and even some packager mixed color to produce honeydew. So you have multifloral honey, you put some color inside, and you arrive to produce honeydew. You can find nearly everything on the market. It's horrible. So, and there you see, it's the graph, it's with Intertech who produced this and present this in, during Happy Montia Congress, but I think it's very illustrative. This is the techniques. The year after, you found there 35 persons, less, and 5 persons after 2 years. What does it mean? Well, if you detect one enzyme was present in some syrup, the person changes syrup, it's all. They didn't continue to use it. And so after 2 years, it's finished. They change. And it's nearly the same for all the specific marker. This is for some elements, and this is for the enzyme that you can find. You see, from one year to another, the fraud decrease. But the fraud is always present. They change, it's all. And so when you discuss with some packager, and they tell, yes, in 6 months they change. It go very quickly. And so it's really hard to find some solution. And so it's why they try to find some solution. The labs, I think they are not crazy. They know exactly all the situation, and they try to find some more global techniques. One analyze not one element, but more element in the honey. So it's what they call a fingerprint. It's like a fingerprint of honey with some techniques. And there are the techniques that you know, sure, NMR, EALC, ERMS, LC, HRMS. So I will develop this. You will see more detail. So NMR, it's the people talk a lot about these techniques. It's splendid techniques you can detect all that. So they can, sure, in some case, detect some addition of foreign sugar. They can, in some case, detect the origin, geographical origin and botanical origin, but this is only true for acacia, sunflower, the very, very big honey cell in the world. For the other, it's nearly impossible. It's not the data bank are not consistent. It gives a complete profile of honey, this is sure, but it's a big problem when they have to detect, when you mix honey coming from different parts, it's not so evident because you have a global envelope of the spectrum there, and so it's not so evident to find little adulteration. If you put 10% of syrup in these techniques, it's not good to detect it. Yes, if you put 50% of syrup, probably you will detect. So you see, it's a good technique, sure. It goes very quickly, but it's not perfect. This is the spectrum there. You see the black line is going through the color line. And so when it's inside of the envelope of the color line, it's perfect. When it comes to arrive outside, like this, there you see deviation, completely deviation from the authentic array. In this case, it's sure that you can tell it's adulterated honey. The problem with these techniques, it's impossible to tell the adulteration is made with this kind of sugar. It's impossible. You know that it's adulterated. Dot. It's finished. Okay, now we can see here just the same kind of graph with coming from Intertech, who show the evolution. And there you see it's not so evident. There is no decrease in the fraud. Yes, with the yellow line with the C4 syrup there, sure, they can change the syrup, and you can see a decrease in the fraud. But for NMR, it's nearly no result in the time, so we can't see if it's some adaptation of this. So we'll see in the future, but sure that they can arrive to adapt every time. It's a little surprising, but they can. So, coming back to the European Coordinated Action Plan, in 2004, the European Parliament decided to tell that it's a high risk of adulteration with honey, and they asked to the Joint Research Center to take in charge this control plan, action plan. And they asked to all the countries in Europe to make some sampling of honey to see if what's the real situation with honey. And there you can see the results. First, in the first line, all the countries have to analyze the sample and to tell which kind of adulteration can we find in this honey. And there you can find, they can find some adulteration linked to the botanical origin. This, the country can do it very quickly, 7%. And for the sugar, they found 6% of adulteration. So the problem is not so important there. But something was a little surprising. They suspect 11% who the persons test the honey, it's not really honey, what's this? And there they tell 11% suspected. And in the second place, it's the Joint Research Center who make analysis of all the conform products. So all was detected as adulterated was rejected, and all the perfect honey were sent it to the Joint Research Center. And there they put in place new techniques linked to the very specific techniques, elemental analysis, isotope radio and mass spectrometry, and liquid chromatography coupled with isotope radio mass spectrometry. And these two techniques linked, you can see if the sugar are coming really from plant or not, from fructose, glucose, saccharose, all the sugar by sugar. So it's a very sophisticated techniques. This costs a lot. But these techniques can't find all the adulteration because it's possible to change this ratio, nuclear ratio in the sugar. Sure, that it costs a lot to do all these things. And with these techniques, they analyze it nearly to 900 honey with these techniques, and they found 14 positive honey, 14%. It's a lot. And this is completely surprising because normally all of this honey must be okay for the European country. But when they analyzed, no, 14 were not correct. So it's a very big problem. 6 plus 14 is at least 20% were not correct. And there is much more surprising results. When you analyze the results of the Joint Research Center, you can see that imported blends or unknown honey, they have only 10% of adulteration, only 10%. And all the EU blends or a single country, there you have nearly 20% of adulteration. So when it's coming from just one beekeeper, one region, 20% of adulteration. But when you mix the honey coming from nearly all the country of the world, 10% of adulteration. How can we explain this? And there we will see. Now we will talk about tailor-made syrup for big quantity of honey and syrup that perfectly mimics honey. This exists. And this is Eurofin during a conference in China who present this. And they tell, yes, we see on the market, they propose to buy some syrup that you can't detect. And they test it with the new techniques of NMR. With a mixture, they use not 50-50, they use 40% syrup, 60% of honey. And they can't, it's one of the best lab in the world, Eurofin. They can't detect with NMR techniques, EALC RMS, the technique used by the Commission. Foreign sugar, no foreign sugar. Foreign enzyme, no foreign enzyme. And you see all the techniques, they check all and they tell, yes, it's true. It's impossible to detect this syrup. But you have to know, this syrup was found in Ukraine, and there was an industry in Ukraine who produced this syrup. Surprising. So it's not specifically coming from China, but it can come from everywhere in the world. And this is the machine that they put in, that they use, and that's why they put this on the market, because it's a LC, high resolution mass spectrometry. It's a LC, donc liquid chromatography with high resolution. And this is like an NMR. It's a very global spectrum, but in some part of the spectrum, they can go very deeply. And there, when they have this kind of syrup, they analyze it completely. And they can detect at this moment some elements who are not present in the normal honey. And with this, they can check and they can detect this kind of syrup. But to arrive to this result, you must have all the collection of the syrup used in the world. And so it's a very big challenge for the labs to detect all the syrup who are produced in the world, and it can be used by the packager and these kind of things to can detect them. And this is not so evident. You can spend a lot of time to find all the syrup. And what's the actual situation there? Some falsifications still cannot be detected. This is sure. Now we know it. And they tell, no, sure, it's impossible. No one lab can be sure to detect all. No one lab. Fraudsters are starting to produce tailor-made syrup adapted to the type of honey and the right requirement of specification. You know that today some frauds, they can produce acacia from Hungary in China. And this honey sell to Hungarian beekeeper. It's horrible. I know they try to sell. I don't think that beekeeper will buy this, or the packager there, surely not. But they have it. So when you see these kind of things, it's a little surprising. So NMR is a good, but for non-target screening, but it's not the most sensitive method. This is sure. And it's too expensive to always apply all the different methods. It's different to safely recommend risk-based testing programming according to the origin of the honey. And this is a table there where you can see all the different techniques, the techniques proposed by the European Union, the techniques NMR, and the techniques, now all the labs have these techniques too, LCH, HRMS techniques. So you see these techniques for C4, C3 sugar, C4 is corn and cane sugar, beet, rice sugar, Tailor-made. So this syrup, they are the most difficult to detect. It's really, really difficult. Legal processing, just the reduction of moisture, of the humidity. It's not so evident. Most of the technique can't detect it. And the type and origin, there you have always the pollen analyzer can be used. Sure. What's the impact on the honey producer or the beekeeper there? The new techniques can detect very low doses of syrup in honey. If you want to detect the syrup that you use in the honey for the feeding of your bees, there they can detect less than 1% of the syrup. So if your bees during the spring bring some reserve in the frame and put them in the super, 1%, they can detect it. And it's a real big problem for the beekeeper, because now when they try to sell their honey, the industry take their samples, send to the lab, and they tell, oh, it's a risk of adulteration. We detect some abnormal sugar inside. And this is a very big problem. Because when you see all these data bank are based on the honey produced in the world. So most important producer, China, Ukraine, France, and all these big producer, they are analyzed by, and they are present in the data bank. From UK, I don't think that beekeeper has sent their honey for the analyze, and so I'm not sure that all the honey produced in UK are present in the data bank. And one thing too is that with the climate change, you observe new honeydew, new honey who can produce some sugar who are not present in the data bank. And there you have big problems. And And what can we say? It's a table that the Danish beekeepers send it to me. They make some analysis with their honey. They produce their own honey. They send it to 2 labs, Eurofin and Food QS. And there you see all the plus. It's suspected of adulteration. There it's a cross there, sure. It's adulterated. So in some case, the 2 arrive to the same results. Here also, and here also is the same results. And when you confirm with NMR, no confirmation. By IRMS and by NMR, no confirmation. So these new techniques was very sensible, can detect a lot of things, but is there really adulteration? This is the question. But for the beekeeper, when they sell this, for the packers who analyze and receive this kind of results, risk of adulteration, he will not buy. And so they ask, in this case, to change some rules there. It should be mandatory to give only results verified by accredited laboratories, even if they have to link several analyses in case of doubt. Without this, producer lost. They lose all. So it's a real problem on the markets. What are the key points? What can we memorize on this kind of analysis? The implementation of a good traceability system should allow to have a maximum of information on samples to be analyzed. Without this, it's very hard for a lab to detect real adulteration. And the traceability, you can solve a lot of problems of adulteration. As you can know, when honey is coming from China, sure, it's non-mature honey. How can we continue to import this honey? It's not honey. You see, some things are, if you have traceability, sure, you must have results. Use of certain more conventional analyses, pollen, aroma, can greatly help to check whether the honey is consistent or not. If you have honey without aromas or with very average, it's average everywhere, this is really suspect, really suspect. Database made up of samples of honey collected according to good beekeeping practice and for which a maximum of information is available are indispensable and should be accessible to all laboratories. These databases are really a key parameter. At the European level, they think to put this in place, but it's so costly to put this in place that now they think, how can we use the private data bank? This is the question. To solve this, if you see all this production is decreasing, at the Copa-Cogeca, we analyze some kind of solution, if we can speak like this. We put in place an action plan, and there in short term, what do we ask? Any honey imported from third country must be in line with the EU's definition of honey. Non-mature honey is not honey. Second thing's really important, the compulsory labeling of origin. All the country where the honey is coming must be on the label. And if possible, you have to put the percentage of each origin, laying down an official definition of the product of the hive. Yes, today I was speaking of the honey, but we don't have definition. Yes, wax a little, but not so clear. Propolis, pollen, royal jelly, we have ISO norms, but not official definition. To put in place a traceability system to clearly identify the origin of honey. This is really important. And we have to use the techniques of blockchain. There with this, we will be secure on the origin. And we can reject automatically all the suspect trace. When a country like Ukraine produces 65,000 kilo honey per year, and when they export nearly 50 or more, 55,000 kilo per year, something is not correct. the consumption didn't decrease. And in the past, the consumption was around 45 to 50,000 tons. So now they reduced the consumption to 10,000 tons. No, it's not possible. So what's the matter there? And there, you see, this with a traceability system, you can see all these things. New coordinated control plan with the member states, sure, based on more big stock of honey, not to kill all the little beekeepers. This is not important. Then we have to solve to give a good beekeeping practice guide and all kind of things. But it's not because you can find 3% of sugar syrup in your honey is adulterated. For all these things, we need a reference lab at European level. And there the GRC work a lot, but now he don't receive money to continue. And the Food and Veterinary Office should also undertake another mission to China. They control with the veterinary product, but they have to control if there is no fraud. It's another job. We need today, with the situation was catastrophic, a new promotion program for honey, European honey. You can do exactly the same in UK. All these things, it's just ideas that I put on the table. To put an observation markets of the markets, what's the production, what's the cost of the production, what's the evolution of all these things. For the sector, it's really important. And it's more a political ask there. It's the second pillar of the program of agricultural program. The beekeeper, most of the professional beekeeper can't access now, but they have to change there. So at the midterm, to amend the spectrum of analysis based on the veterinary, it's to extend the spectrum of analysis. When the drums is coming in a country, usually they take samples and they make analysis of the presence of antibiotics and these kind of things. But now they have to make analysis also of, is it adulterated or not? Is it honey or not? I think it can be really useful. Yeah, it's also, you have to help the beekeeper to be present on the market. It's not so evident to do this. And for this, what's really can be really important, honey is not sugar, but now it's completely considered as just a sugar. But for the health, honey is not the same. And so we have to put in place health claim to support the honey and the quality of honey. And with the nutritional labeling system, we have a very big problem because honey is red. So you don't have to use it. For the consumer, it's a very big problem for the beekeeper to produce red product. Very toxic for the health. It's a little surprising, but it's like this. At a longer term, but what can we do? We can put in place some risk management tools for the producer. It's not so evident, but it's more for the industry there, but it can be really important. And one other things to bring beekeepers together in collective action to market value and differentiate their product. These are projects for the future. At the European level, they tell just short term, only honey, and not all. So perhaps labeling will change, sure. And fraud, perhaps they will do something. Perhaps they tell they are interested. But so all what we can win, we will win. It's okay. At the Happy Mondia, we put in place some more strategy too. It's a little weak in front of the Copa-Cogeca strategy action plan. But there, what we have to tell is to the beekeeper that the problem exists of adulteration. They must be aware of this. The consumer too. But we have to be very careful because the consumer, if you tell what you buy, it's not honey, it's just sugar. You have to be very careful with this. The retailer, packager, they must know exactly the situation, and I think they know. So the codex must be applied, this is sure. And we have to work in collaboration with authorities. And what do we ask also? Traceability, tracking, to use the best techniques to use to detect the problem with the laboratories, to promote exchange, good data bank, it's exactly the same. And all the major player in the business community must use a food safety and quality insurance program. So I think I finished with all these things, and I thank you for your attention, and SB choose quality products. Thank you.